We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, and individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really, really, really want to understand, they overcome it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingtheman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven. I have books that are amazing. I highly recommend you get them. 7 Guaranteed Steps to Spiritual, Family, and Financial Success Guide. Even if you're not starting a business, but you have a job, or you're on welfare, it can help you if you do. Be doers of the word, all right? From rage to responsibility. From rage. That's what I write about in the first chapter, especially how I overcame. Scam. How the black leadership exploits black Americans. They are using them, and blacks are too willing to be used. And then my last book, The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. They are all amazing books, and they are helpful. Go to rebuildingtheman.com if you want an autographed copy, or call 800-411-2663. So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer, and I want you to start doing it. You just download it, get the points of how to do it, and then after a while, you just do it on your own. It's going to point you in the right direction that your life will be returned to you from God. He will give you your life back, because anyone and all people who has anger, they're not themselves. You are the person that you are angry at. That's why it's so important to get to know yourself so that you can see who you're angry at. And if you're doing the hooping and hollering prayers and things like that, some people get up, oh, praise the Lord, hoop and holler, bless my mama, bless my daddy. Continue to do it. Do both. You will see if you want to stay with the hooping and hollering, or do you want to be still and know God. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. Isn't he Mexican?
Colombia.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Thanks for tuning in, folks, on this fine Monday. We're back, and it's a pleasure to be back because we got a bit of a show to get into. Plenty of things to get into, to be honest, and some topics that were brought up earlier and got the people talking. You know, they're like, psychedelics, sir? We'll talk about it. Look, we got plenty to get into, and we're welcoming all of our viewers here, showing a little bit of decorum. That means, like, manners. That means, like, okay, you forgave your mom, but, like, where's the training? I mean, like, you're supposed to be civilized. I don't know if that's all mama. Maybe dad's involved. I don't know. But look, click the like button. Don't be rude. It's like, we see you coming in. Say hello. There's a whole chat of people. They're talking. Just be like, have some civility. Be normal. Even if it's phony. To some degree, you could be in it, not of it. I don't know. Figure it out. Just click the like button. Leave a comment. Whatever's cool with you. You're here, though. And I appreciate it. We got our people here on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. Hit them, Brandon. Hit them. You know, they're getting loose. They're getting loose and Rumble. There's no law. Is there no law in Rumble? Where's the law? I don't see him. You know? Thank you, YouTube. You're here as well. Punchy.tv/Anchor Baby. And, of course, the people of YouTube, thanks for tuning in. If you got something on your mind, there's something you want to talk about, some burning question or topic, look, 888-775-3773. There it is, okay? You're welcome to call in. Hello, decorum. Thank you, MG. Appreciate it. And we got everybody here, okay? So thank you. What else? We'll get to your super chats and all that. Plenty of coffee's coming in, man. Thank you. Buymeacoffee.com/Anchor Baby. And what else? Look, that's some of the housekeeping. We're here. I do want to get into some stuff. I got some stuff here. Amazing. So, Psychedelics is here on the packet, but let me pull it all up. The Trump thing. It's kind of thematic. Kind of fits in a couple things here. Ended up happening. What else? Look, you're here. What else? 888-775-3773. That's it, right? That's it. Okay. Man, why does it feel like something's missing? Does it ever feel like something's missing? And you're like, you know what? I bet you a heroic dose of psychedelics will clear it all up. You know what? You know what? I'm going to just experience ego death. I don't know why I'm laughing. Nobody thinks like that, I bet. They saw Joe Rogan maybe talking about it, or saw some reports, medical reports, things that are interesting. I mean, some people are maybe going through it. Maybe they're the target demographic. And, you know, that may be people like from just a little bit of problem, or that may be people with experience in different therapies and they've tried different things and it's like desperate. It makes me think of Right to Try and maybe the people involved in that. And maybe it involves people who, I don't know, just want to try that therapy. But it's interesting to some. And they may, that's probably where they hear about it. And Trump, I mean, he's a guy that also heard about it. You heard Joe Rogan maybe. He heard about it. And there's some things that are just interesting, especially to a guy like Trump. I mean, he's a results guy, right? And when you see something that says, well, I mean, it's very promising. It's 80% of people on this are free of an addiction, like Joe Rogan was saying. It's something that, to Trump, a pragmatic individual, he can't deny such a thing, right? I mean, I guess I have the clip. Some of what they were saying might as well, right?
I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions.
So, I was barely looking at some of that because that perked my ears. I was like, the reason they were designated as such, it's like it was like a civil rights thing. I think what he's saying is, and I could be, well, I guess he wasn't clear there, right? But if you were more knowledgeable about what he's talking about, maybe it's clear to you. But it seems to me, it sounds a little bit like it sounds like wrong think, which is my own, maybe someone else has said that, but I just made that up. It's like, you can exhibit the symptoms of thinking wrong. And if you're worried about civil rights, if you're saying, well, they just hated black people. And I don't know what he's saying, right? Then you got to be thinking about it wrong. You got to be thinking about it wrong a little bit. But, if you just on the surface, unless you believe they're lying, they at some point before me decided, because the drugs he's talking about, besides the one that was named Ibogaine, a novel psychedelic extracted from a plant. It's an alkaloid that's unique in its metabolization, but this is not a pharmacological thing. The drugs that are scheduled under the thing he's talking about, things like MDMA, shrooms, etc. They're the wicked, the what's the call? What do you call it when you don't trust the government? The accepted story is that they were scheduled like that because of their high abuse potential. But whatever, it's kind of a funny thing, right? High abuse potential denotes what am I getting at? Like there's maybe a slight hypocrisy in there. It's not enough to say, well, just legalize all drugs, bro. But I could get the slight hypocrisy. It's like, well, everybody's abusing something, right? So high abuse potential. I think it's more like high abuse potential and you can't really live a normal life. It's like you could abuse these other things like caffeine. You could abuse these other things and be okay, I guess. Anyways, that's a side note. But that was what Rogan was saying. Another side note. I think later Trump is like, I did have people looking into it though, like kind of felt like Rogan was making this too loosey-goosey for him. That's my opinion. I just called him. He gave me FDA. He's like right away. I think Trump, when you see something like 80%, it's just you're a results type guy. You're like, okay, let's see what it means. And that's what the order does. It's not legalizing anything yet, I guess, but it's just fast-tracking an already fast-tracked process, actually. And like an already fast-tracked process, so to speak, FDA has classified certain drugs as breakthrough therapy designation, a breakthrough therapy designation. And what this Trump's action here, this executive order accelerating medical treatments for serious mental illness, fast tracks. Well, it gives these vouchers to particular drugs that already have this breakthrough therapy designation. And so under this therapy designation, they have like months on this process. They shorten it to even lower, even faster. So, if you wanted to describe it more accurately, it's just a fast tracking of what's supposed to be a rigorous process for true medical therapy, true medical value, etc. I do see the similarities with pot And now I definitely was younger when this was discussed and debated. I mean, you get a medical card, you hear about it. It's like, but when I was young, even when I was young, it always had this twinge of, yeah, right. I saw it parodied maybe on TV. And the people would always have this like sarcastic, like, I got glaucoma. Wink, wink, like I saw the South Park thing as a kid that probably influenced me. Stan's dad, or who was it? The dad, he was like, this is America. I thought this was America. He intentionally gives himself cancer, a particular type of cancer. Don't worry about what kind, but to get medical marijuana. So I wonder, for those that saw the debate more, was that more like widely considered? Like, you know what, maybe it's therapeutic, maybe it helps. Do people feel like that now? I don't know. But anyways, I was saying earlier on JLP, I think, why this is being done, etc. Whether it like treats depression, I mean, look, I don't know. And I doubt, I don't know what it's about. I don't know if I doubt about depression, but just in general, I doubt things on the outside being the answer for what's going on inside. I mean, and I don't know, there's a reason. I just don't want to believe such a thing, maybe. Because this seems like the truth, what I've been hearing about. Allow me to explain, I guess. But I think it offers a relief. It might offer a relief for people. That's his style. He's doing this like, he does like right to try. Like if you've already tried so many things, you should be allowed to try more risky / experimental procedures. It's a law or something he passed, I think, in his first term. And when you think about it, I mean, therapy, a lot of medical therapies are simply just like a recordable, something just like a recordable, like a measurable change in quality of life, which can be it doesn't have to be a very high standard. Like my mood is better. Out of 7 days in the week, 80% of the days I was sad, 60% of the days I was sad. It's like, that's an improvement. This is an improved therapy, etc. There's so many other things like that, right? I mean, if it's just like relief or therapy, it's as much as the next thing, right? So, but anyways, it's like what I was thinking. I have my own theory. I have my own theory as to what's happening. I'm not a doctor. I have my own theory about what's happening though. With these now again, the study is like, it's unclear. Like where Rogan got that 80% thing. It's a lot of clinics, and there was some clinics in Mexico. I'll just summarize. The criticisms are that some of these studies are not rigorous enough, big enough sample size, but it was enough to pique Trump's interest. But whatever. My take, I guess. I mean, my opinion. My opinion is like, I think I mean, look. My opinion really goes along with as call it like, it supports what's going on with the mind of what I think is happening, what Jesse's been talking about, and how powerful and yet not powerful, how powerful the mind is and yet how it's not, how it's an illusion, how evil the devil is, but how he's been defeated. It's a strange paradox, right? But in some sense, a lot of people that come to church, and it's like, we're all there, right? I'm there too. You maybe listen to yourself, remembering answers you gave. And you get this impression that it's like everybody's going through the same thing. They got this illusion. And they could drop it. But it's just such a hard thing to believe. Like, you are not a sinner. You're already saved. You're like, Jesus already came. And you're like, no, I have to take responsibility though. Like, but what happens is my theory, half-cocked theory, whatever, that on these drugs you become quite suggestible, okay? And And then you're just like, you get this big feeling and this big event, and it's like enough for you to finally believe, you know what, I am saved. You know what, I am okay. I even hear the description. I heard it on the Hake Report earlier, and I've heard it a bunch of times, anecdotally from friends. And they're like, I just like became happy again. I was just able to like be happy again. You know what else does that? Forgiveness. But you know how hard that is to like believe that? Like, you know what, I'm just like wrong, and then to stick to that, right? Imagine if you could forgive and like be happy, like these guys are saying, and I'm happy again. I'm not just like nasty and crotchety and like things just fall off of me. Imagine if you could do that without drugs, how strong you'd be. And I think it's possible. I think God wants that from us. I think that's what all that is talking about, even if it's muddied by religion and people. What Jesus was talking about. But anyways, if you're using it for, like, they're saying, if you're using it for mental health instead of abusing it, it should be fine. I heard that comment. Thought I had about it. It's just, but isn't everyone doing that? Isn't everyone doing that? Isn't everyone using for mental health? Like that? That's a nice way of saying I try to make myself feel better. Or don't they call it self-medicating? Well, that's a pejorative, right? That's terrible. That's just judging the druggies or something. That's my opinion. But what else about this? What else about this? Man, I remember when some friends I was living with, it's like university kind of age. Now, I wasn't in university with them, but about a year and a half later, I was like, you know what? I can do this. Let me do university. I did like a semester, and I was like, all right, I proved to myself I could sit in class and do Greek. And I don't know, maybe have turned out well if I stuck to it. That's whatever. It's all in the past, but I went to a semester, but the time I'm talking about, I was just living with some of these guys in like one of these like university houses. So it's like not a frat, but a lot of people are living in these houses with multiple rooms. And hey, it gets, drugs go around and stuff. And not like, they just want to experiment. Because I live with these like engineer guys, right? They're like a mechanical engineer, software engineer, these like engineer guys. And they were always like experimenting and talking about stuff, experimenting and like building stuff. And they're interesting guys. I smoked pot with them, straight up. I smoked pot with them. And I remember when they started bringing around like acid, and they started doing stuff like they just wanted to go out into the, psychedelic world. Now, I did acid with them. I did whatever. It doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, that was whatever. It was like sometimes fun, a little scary, a little strange, but I let it go. I remember seeing my friends, and I don't think they ever let it go. I think for years they were like, that was such a strange night. And I don't think they ever recovered. And sometimes I think like the acid, like something messed them up or something. I don't know. I think they just believed something. And they were suggestible. That's my opinion. Personally, I've never hallucinated. I don't know if that, everybody who's ever, and I'm going to get to calls after this, thanks. People who've described hallucinating. Okay. I think you guys are just talking about closing your eyes and like having a very vivid imagination, but you can't really fall asleep because you're on drugs. And so you're just like nodding, kind of in that in between space of almost sleeping, and you're very imaginative. But that's my opinion. Okay. What are you talking about? Did they go crazy? They just got so depressed. They just like got so depressed and just strange about life and scared about life and scared about everything and thinking about stuff, and the getting stoned with them wasn't like this like chill thing anymore, and maybe it was always there underneath the surface or something. I think they just like got it in their heads, especially when they got something in their heads, and they never got over it. And that was a while. Maybe they're over it now, but it was a while ago. It was a while ago. No, Nit, you can literally go to another place. But Kevin, were your eyes open and you were like, okay, I'm here, I'm in this room, but I'm feeling funny, I'm on acid, and then like reality around you changes? Like some people think that stuff is, and I just, that's never happened. That's never happened. Not like we did shrooms, I did salvia. That's what they say. They say that one's like legal. You could buy it at a corner store. They say that you're supposed to, that's the one that really changes reality. It never happened. I don't know if it's possible. I think y'all, some people have like maybe like strange imaginary faculties. I don't know how to describe this, but some people, actually multiple people, swear to me that they can't imagine something in their mind like that clearly. Like if someone tells me, Nick, imagine an apple, I see the apple, I see the shape of the apple, the glistening skin, it's green, now it's red, now it's blue. Like, like I could do, I don't know if I'm doing that, but like, I don't, some say they can't, and I'm like wondering, they're like on the drugs and they closing their eyes, being so imaginative, like, guys, I went to another realm. It's like, have you ever used your imagination before? But anyways, let's move on from this. 888-775-3773. I want to get to some callers. We got other topics. Because what I was gonna tell you guys about the technological republic. I find this pretty interesting. Palantir and the techno guys, kind of, they have a different way of looking at the world. And I mean, I bet you some like the psychedelic stuff. So it's kind of related. And they put out this thing. I want to get into it. But what else? What are you guys saying? Nick got so high he thought he was a virtual hot dog. Thank you, Carver, with the super chat. That's funny. I'm a hot dog. Shout out. We got to bring that back. Who did I snitch on? We're getting Lucy on this show. What are we talking about? Okay. So Trump, depression. I love what he said too, right? I don't have time to get depressed. And so my little theory, I think it's connected. It's like, it's thoughts. All right, you guys see that? All right, let's keep it going here. I got James, Kentucky. Appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Morning, Nick. How are you doing?
What's up, James? All is well. Thanks.
Good. All is well too. Yeah, I didn't realize till you were talking about psychedelics. I didn't realize today was pot day.
Yeah,
so
I was coming in, and James was like, he reminded me it was someone's birthday, and that it's that, and I was like, oh yeah, that's that day today. That's that pot day.
Yeah, we all know it's somebody's birthday too, but we're going to focus on pot day. So, I was just kind of curious. So,
not the dog.
You're just.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just curious. So, because if I remember correctly, pot is technically, I think, the first psychedelic ever cultivated by us, if I recall correctly, or at least it's one of the oldest ones. And what gets me is, do you think it makes sense to, and this is kind of where I want to ask you. So, some states, it's legal to get it, right?
Right.
But then, in other states, it's not. And then federally, it's not. Do you think it makes sense to keep it illegal or to legalize it?
Well, I mean, that kind of calls to how I see how the country's like supposed to be, right? May be like you may have a gray area and it can be hotly debated, but there is supposed to be separation. If a state wants to do that, I kind of I'm in a sense okay with that. If it represents the people there, I don't know what else to say about that. Federally, I think I like that the federal government says no. These are how we see these drugs, and then the states maybe have kind of their own thing about it.
Right. And that's why, and see, this is kind of where I like to kind of have these kinds of topics, because when it comes to, of course, drugs, you know, if I recall correctly, the most commonly used drug in the world is caffeine, technically, because it's highly addictive, right? I mean, let's be honest, most of us probably this morning had a cup of coffee or some tea or something. Most of us, not all, of course. And it's just, why are some drugs like coffee and tobacco and alcohol legal, but then marijuana is one of the things where it's kind of more debated about? Because, you know, that's kind of why I wanted to ask you, because it's like you could choose to have coffee, you could choose to smoke, you could choose to drink, right? Of course, it's a spiritual battle in that regard. But is it right for a government to be able to decide what choices we're allowed to have versus what choices we're not? Because at the end of the day, it's us for ourselves whether or not we make those decisions to ingest those said psychedelics. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
Like if you,
and I think the answer to that for me is it depends. It depends because there are multiple things being debated. It's not just, well, we want to control people. It's also, well, people are harming themselves, and it's even if they're maybe not killing themselves, maybe it's changing things in a big way. And not only that, it's not just the government saying that, but it's people agreeing with the government because the government's made up of the people, right? So I think the answer, yeah, to some degree. But I mean, I think the answer to that is it depends. You know, I think the drug legislation thing, in culmination, is today includes the mistakes, the overreaches, prohibition. Oh, okay. But then I heard that wasn't good either. But it did help with drunkenness. So anyways, I think it just represents the conversation. It may be going the wrong way to some degree. And we're getting to what you're talking about. Why is marijuana debated? Like unlike these other things, because I think it's up for debate. How helpful or how harmless it really is. I mean, you could maybe have a population their health is barely negligibly changed by pot, right? But you might have deep changes in behavior and just sensibility and maybe simpler work ethic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's why it's hotly debated. I don't think it's just debated because of pure politics or pure old sentimentality and judgment on, well, potheads, or I don't think it's just that. There may be some of that, but
maybe some of that.
Maybe.
Well, because obviously in this country, everything starts as illegal at some point. I mean, when we were just starting out, of course, tobacco was illegal, coffee beans was illegal, and alcohol was illegal.
Really?
But then
coffee beans were illegal?
We're talking about young America here.
No, but I didn't know this. That's interesting. Young America coffee beans.
Yes, coffee beans was originally illegal. Again, I'm talking young America here. Yeah. But it's like, well, what changed? Well, they taxed it. And then all of a sudden, once you tax something, all of a sudden it becomes legal. So that's where I come to challenge, well, are you really thinking the government is interested in the well-being of its people, or is it only really interested in what financially benefits them? Because
may I jump in there? Because sure. I think it's overlapping in my mind. It's not that I have to consider if they really morally care about people. It's just it's an overlapping motivation. The desire to have a strong populace because it makes you money or something coincides with, well, a bunch of people on drugs aren't going to really make us money, etc. So I think it's overlapping motivations. And you don't have to worry about that kind of morality.
Right. Well,
so in some degree, maybe when they say it was scheduled because of the harm it would do to the public good, maybe they were onto something. Let's not be too quick. Go ahead.
I mean, drunk driving is still one of the highest mortality rate causes by the country every year. but alcohol is never going to be illegal again. One, because the prohibition didn't work, it benefited the mobsters. But two, it's a huge money generator for the government. And it's the same. I mean, remember back in the 80s when they talked about how tobacco was safe to smoke and ignore all the lung cancer. And then of course, the folks that were around at that time, you saw the change where you remember the ads that talked about how safe smoking was. And then all of a sudden now you can't buy a pack of cigarettes without it saying, warning, may cause lung cancer on the side.
That's how I've only ever seen them, but yeah.
Right. Well, no, if you watch the older folks watching your show, they remember
I believe it.
Those ads ran, just like they remember when the biggest tobacco companies for the longest time were fighting the idea that it caused lung cancer versus, that's why it says may cause, because the whole debate between,
I don't think that's a heuristic to say there are lines elsewhere, but also, again, like I'm agreeing with you to some degree that the government's not necessarily interested in the well-being, but these things that are, and so I don't believe that they're saying, well, alcohol and cigarettes. I don't think that that's them saying those are fine and healthy. I think that's just them saying, well, it seems like it seems like people are pretty determined to harm themselves with substances. So these ones don't seem to ruin society so much. So, that's just kind of my general thinking. And then there's other motivations, maybe judgments and things you're talking about.
Well, I mean, as Jesse points out, it's just good and evil, which is what it's all about. And it's the fact of if you have evil in you, you're going to choose to do these drugs versus if you don't have it in you, you would refuse it. And that's where it comes down to is good and evil intentions, right? So, but it's also a matter of the fact that if you are just looking at it from just the American freedom perspective, right? Of course, having the freedom to choose to touch drugs or choose not to is part of that American freedom. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't know, actually. I mean, when you say American freedom, I get a little like, does that mean that's what the founding fathers meant? And then now I'm starting to think of, well, maybe there's examples of, it's probably intellectual, my apologies, but maybe there's examples of all sorts of restrictions all throughout American history. So then, yeah, you could call it pretty American, but maybe it's not your kind of freedom. So those are the things I'm thinking of. I can't answer you, sir. I'm being a little intellectual right now, but I got to say, I don't know. I don't know if it's so that's why I'm saying I don't know. I don't know if it's your American freedom.
Yeah. I guess that's where because I'm more of a constitutionalist, and that's kind of why, to me, is there's no greater freedom than the right to decide what your fate is. Because obviously the alternative to that is the fate will decide, which is, of course, what totalitarianism is, and that's what our forefathers fought against. It's the right to live however we choose, so long as we do not infringe on the rights of others, right?
Mm-hmm.
True freedom. And that's why when I talk about this topic, I think of the respect of if somebody chooses to have a cup of coffee versus choosing not to, having that choice is a retention of your freedom versus the state saying, well, you can't have that anymore. You're not allowed to have that cup of coffee anymore, right? Because if somebody wants, that's why Prohibition went the way it did, because people still wanted the alcohol and they were willing to get it by, unfortunately, illegal means, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened with the Prohibition. And I guess that's kind of why I thought of the idea of when you try to make something illegal, if somebody wants it bad enough, they're going to get it one way or another. Don't you think?
You're onto something, and it's why I think it's been like this hotly debated thing over the years of this country, to all the way to Prohibition, to not, to getting loosey, maybe crazy. I gotta say, I'm not sure, and about the freedom thing. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but would you agree with me? And because this is just what I think, maybe I'm wrong, but despite everything you said, America is still a nation in this world that has to contend with the society question. How do you get enough people to agree to rules? Because there are roles that need to be filled, and people got to play these parts, and it can all kind of get real bad if you don't, When you describe this America, and I'm not familiar with all the writings and what they were exactly thinking, the founders and all that, it almost sounds like they're talking about not everybody on the planet, or is that just me? It almost sounds like they're talking about, well, if we're creating a nation for free people, but you got to be one of these men, one of these people. You're not just born this way, maybe, or I don't know. I don't know if they're talking about the whole planet. Of those people, we're talking about everybody. Like if you don't have that free mindset and I don't know, free within, then you can't have a society like that because evil will take it under it.
Yes. And, evil always will control the will of the people that let it control them. And, of course, the Founding Fathers warned against all threats, foreign and domestic.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, of course, the Second Amendment, as we all know, was written, was for that reason, to protect us, the people. And it's a matter of, well, at what point do you start to say, well, is this infringement of my right because it's motivating you to do that? Because remember, all of the most tyrannical governments in our history, they always start by disarming the population because it's easier to control, right? And why I'm going that route is it's a choice. You can choose to own a firearm. You can choose not to. That's your right as an American, right? Just like it's your right to choose to have a cup of coffee or choose to buy a bottle of beer, or choose, if you're in a legal state, to smoke, right? I mean,
to a degree.
What do you think?
I mean, I got what you're saying. It's just maybe it's a bit in a vacuum, and call it intellectual. Maybe what we're describing is an ideal and it has its place, but I think what happened is you may have such a thought, but then history happened, right? Then Americans were here, and then or let's just think about more recent, fentanyl starts going around. You're like, wait, guys, you're free though. You're supposed to choose for yourselves. Oh crap, they're all high, and the government started deciding, well, we got to make rules. I mean, I think that's just what happened. And I don't know if I disagree with them entirely.
Right. I understand your point. I'm just, of course, the old saying is, if you give an inch, they take a mile. And when it comes to government, anything they take away from you, as far as your rights, you're never getting it back. And that's why, of course, perfect freedom is the right to live the way that the Founding Fathers wrote for us, so long as you do not infringe on the right of somebody else. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And how that looks, of course, is the individual's decision, whether they think part of their life is better having a cup of coffee versus not. Or if some people believe that having a blunt helps with their epilepsy or helps them in some way, is it right to deny them of that?
Man, a blunt doesn't seem like medicine. You can't prescribe, I'm a doctor. I prescribe 3 blunts. I mean, can we get it like a pill or something? No. It's like, what?
I like where you were going with that.
That doesn't even make sense, man. That's not medicine. I don't know. Some kind of
no,
very unsophisticated judgment comedy on it. That's just a funny thing to say.
Right. Right. And of course, a lot of people, even in your chat, some of them use marijuana, and some of them probably use it for pain, because a lot of times pain can be helped by having it. Or I have 2 friends that have epilepsy, and they are using medical marijuana, which has helped deal with them because prescription didn't work. But they're living in the UK too. But it's like, if you live in a state where that's illegal, you can't even get that for those medical reasons. So then you have to live with it. You have to live with that pain or live with that epilepsy if the pills ain't working.
They can go to a state where it's legal. I guess those people in the state majority are like, I don't like that. We don't like that here, even medically.
Right.
But I mean, look,
just run to California.
That's also an extreme case, maybe. I mean, I've seen these videos, and I just don't know how true they are. I really don't know, but I've seen these videos of people shaking with like MS or something extreme, and then they take this hit, and then they're just chill, and they're like normal. I'm like, well, that seems like amazing. That's probably how Trump felt when he sees these numbers saying, well, 80% stop doing hard drugs like for like a long time. That's pretty interesting. But you know, they're talking about using this for depression. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is because it's maybe newer for the older generations. But everybody I know is like they did the antidepressants and plus the pot separately together with depression, and they're, I don't know, worse than ever. So I don't know if that's what they're talking about. They're talking about healing depression with this stuff, not like what you're talking about.
Right, and you're right. There's a lot of fake news on that. You know, it's how much of that is actually true. I agree with you on that. And that's why, of course, people that abuse it, well, that's no different than people that are alcoholics, right? Or people that have a smoking problem, chain smokers, you know, or people that are addicted to caffeine. You know, of course, like anything, if it becomes an addiction, it's something, of course, that then is a sickness within yourself. But that's not but that material that you're using, it's not exactly the culprit of it. It's your own sickness and your spiritual well-being. Would you not agree? Whether it's because, like just said, it's always a spiritual battle.
You're trying to escape something. 100%. There's a reason why. Where was this? Where did I hear this? There's something connected to what you're saying. It either happened on the JLP show. It was a news story. What was it? It was deep because it totally showed how just like being angry, nasty individual, like stuff just makes you angry. Your buttons get pressed. Actually, is the same type of person who needs like. It doesn't have to even be anger. Like you're just a person who's always trying to have a certain image on. That's pretty stressful.
Yeah. Yes.
I forget what it was. Man, this is terrible because I can't think of the example, but it showed how that kind of just turbulent inner world is totally connected to, because the medical world, you can't see the connection. They're like, okay, I mean, what happened? It's like some sort of physical structure problem in the brain, probably, but no, it's like you're just like you're in hell and you need to feel better. I need to feel better. Yeah. You're in hell and I need to feel better. And so yes, when you were driving and you were like, F that driver, or man, you know what? I'm so stressed trying to be the funny guy at work or something. I don't know.
Yes.
It is connected to, and that's why I go home and cry at night and get drunk or whatever. It totally is connected.
Yes, it's because you're spiritually sick, because you're living in hell, and you're not, instead of listening to Jesse's advice, you're choosing to ignore it and use a substance as an escape. You know, but that's why I say it don't matter whether it's tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, or any of these psychedelics. It's like if you're spiritually sick or you're living in your own hell, you're just using that because it's available. But that's not exactly the substance's fault. That's you choosing to continue to be sick within your spirit instead of dealing with it. You know, escapism is, and just like, you know, when you look at, when you watch, you know, things on the internet that are inappropriate for you, you know, or you distract yourself with things. They're all quote unquote legal, but they all cause the same kind of hell within you. You know?
Yeah.
So that's why
you're motivated by something, a feeling, a thought motivated you, and you're used to doing it, and now you're back to doing it. But the reason the other ones aren't the other ones are legal because sure, everyone else is an addict about something else, but coffee addicts, sporno addicts, cigarette addicts still are positive to the GDP. So shout out to the GDP holders, the GDP, the backbone of the GDP.
The backbone of America, the American economy. I mean, in a sense, you know, like your state and other states that have legalized marijuana.
But please go ahead. Last thing, because then we got to move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was going to say, I mean, what percentage of the GDP of California was generated from marijuana? I imagine
and the workers getting through their days.
Exactly. But I'll let you go. I know I probably ate up enough of your time.
No problem,
I just was curious on that because, you know, it's all like Jesse always said. It's a spiritual battle. It's good and evil, and whether you make something legal or not, to me, is just ignoring the actual problem, which is the user itself. He's sick, and he's choosing what's available to escape with. And this whole, well, this should be illegal or this should be legal, to me is just kind of like, ignoring the actual problem, which is the users being, spiritually sick. Because it's like when you have peace within yourself and you've forgiven your mother, you don't have a need for them anymore. It's gone.
Oh, man.
So you have nothing else needed. So, well, I won't hold you up. I just wanted to talk to you on that. I hope you have a great show, Nick. And I'll
Thank
be
you,
listening
sir.
in.
Call me again, man.
I will. Thanks.
Take it easy.
Bye.
What's up with the take it easy, man? How you doing? Okay, let's keep it going. 888-775-3773. A little quick fact check, actually. He must have meant a different nation or some other history, but no, coffee or coffee beans were never illegal. It's just grok. And they are referencing lemon drop coffee. In the United States, at any point in its history, it's been widely consumed. Culturally embraced in America since colonial times. Gained popularity as a patriotic alternative to tea. From that Boston Tea Party stuff, is that why? We're tossing the British tea. We're doing coffee over here. Is that connected to coffee's ascendancy? Isn't it like the second? What's the most? Besides water, it's like coffee, tea, or what is it? It's like water, coffee, tea, beer. Like the most popular drinks, it's like coffee. Water, coffee, tea, beer, soda. Something like that. Historical bans elsewhere, though. It's been banned heavily in other countries at various times for political, moral reasons. The Ottoman Empire, I guess the Muslims maybe, Prussians maybe had some problems with coffee beans. I wonder why. Why did they ban coffee like that? Okay, then we'll move on because we got calls in the Ottoman Empire, for example. We got John out of Houston. We're coming to you here in a sec. I have a burning question here. In the Ottoman Empire, coffee itself was never permanently or universally banned, but coffee drinking in public, especially coffee houses, kahvehane, faced repeated crackdowns and closures in the mid-16th century. Some guy, Sultan Murad IV, made public coffee consumption a capital offense punishable by death, according to NPR.org. Sometimes by beheading. What's wrong with coffee? Religious, moral, and political concerns. The coffee houses became popular social hubs. Dissent. Political dissent. Not at the coffee houses. Religious, moral objective. Some conservative Muslim scholars and clerics oppose coffee as a new innovation, not present at the time of Prophet Muhammad. This newfangled coffee, they're just like boiling beans. Didn't they have this stuff from like ancient times? Like, we're talking about coffee. No, sorry. Coffee may have been discovered in the New World. Is coffee discovered in the New World like chili peppers? We're learning things here, folks. Look, we're going to get to John here. No, coffee was not discovered. No, what am I talking about? Coffee Arabica, right? Coffee plants, Coffee Arabica. Yeah, native to the highlands of Ethiopia. They're like boiling these beans. They're like, what is this newfangled technology? That is haram. That is haram. Anyways, that's funny. Look, moving on, coffee. World's most popular drug, right? You judgmental as he smokes his pot and maybe he does it. Like maybe there's the stereotype is the lazy stoner, right? John, Houston, Texas. Thank you, sir. You're on the air.
What's up, Gorgonzola?
How you doing, sir?
Fine. How's your Monday morning going today?
Amazing.
Hey, did you have when was your debate?
You know what? When was that? I was on the Caledonian Elixir. We were talking Trump, and he put up the recording of it because I know the live stream was a little funky. But it is there. Let me see. If you go to Caledonian Elixir, you go to videos. It's the third video. 3 weeks ago, War with Iran debate panel discussed the origin and future of the war. You could check me out. I was doing my thing on the Caledonian Elixir.
Amazing, man. That's amazing.
And you know what? I did see a little message. There may be more debates coming in. I don't know from who, but I'll let you guys know.
That's one thing I wanted to know. And I was going to comment about your engineer friends. How much did they experiment?
I mean, a bunch. I just remember them doing so much drugs. And I'd be like babysitting them sometimes, trip sitting as they called it. And yeah, I saw this like roller coaster they were on. What were you asking? Yeah, they were experimenting on a bunch of things. It seemed like it.
A roller coaster?
It seemed like it. Yeah, it seemed like I kind of saw them on this roller coaster.
When did they get bored of it, or did they are they still experimenting today?
So I haven't spoken to some of them in a while, and I don't know about one buddy. I get the impression that he still parties. But whatever. I don't really know. I really don't know. I really don't know.
Well, no,
but I don't know. I just don't know. That's the answer to your question.
Well, he parties, but but that's not experimenting.
So what do you mean? What do you mean? That's what I mean by experimenting, just trying different drugs they didn't try before.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at some point experimenting, like if you do experiment every day.
Right. Yeah, I guess you're definitely not experimenting anymore. You become ripe and mature in your experiments.
Well, no, I don't think you become necessarily ripe and mature with drugs, though.
No, but I mean that it's just not an experiment anymore. It's evolved. I get what you're saying. It's evolved beyond an experiment. You've done this enough times.
But that's why I was asking, if your friend still experiments, because if he still experiments, then his perception has been dulled. Because if you're still experimenting and your perception is dulled, then you're just going to keep experimenting over and over and over again. And you're going to get caught in a cycle of partying.
You know what? I never asked him.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It seemed like a wild time for them. But what can I say?
Well, yeah. Thanks, Nick.
Of course. John, call me.
All right, appreciate it.
Call me again, sir.
All right, later.
888-775-3773. Yeah. Amazing. So what else? Check it out. Appreciate the coffees. buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby. Now we got some here from Eric. Oh, let me just pull it up. Be nice to show it. Be nice to have it here. Talking with Eric. Let's get them all. Conflated. Let me see. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. How does that work? Hold on. I want to make sure we got you here. We got that one. Okay, coffees, buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby. We got Eric with the coffee, says, conflating youth and we already read that one. Now, we've been talking about beauty, value. We have a number of things here. He says, you read my coffees in contempt. You think so, Eric? I'm addressing the fundamental problem with society, the cause of all human dysfunction. You skip sentences and mumble while reading. It's a lot. It's a lot, and my mind tells me maybe I should ignore thought. But I'm just like, this is long, and it's like people are already tuning out. They're not getting it. So it is some repetitive lines. So I thought I did some summarizing. I tried not to in other ones. I thought I saw Hake summarize one of yours, and I was like, that's a pretty interesting technique. But then, whatever, right? Call it discomfort And maybe that's content, but hey, Eric, it ain't personal, man. It's just a little long. Because it's like, we agree. I'm trying to respond to you too, not just like, right, just wall of text. I'm like, well, you know what, Eric, I agree, but here's where I don't, like, to conversate. Why I keep talking about value is because understanding value explains human behavior. Hold on, we need, who holds more influence, yes. Average 18-year-old boy or an average 18-year-old girl. Men create value, women preserve value. Men are made, women are born. Understanding male versus female psychological pressures, we can explain human behavior. It's like, what? To explain some of my thinking for you, I mean, Eric, like is there much to say to that, Eric? It's like, I largely agree. It sounds like things that I've heard. I mean, you sometimes super chat Jesse, you'll be like, yeah, totally. And there's not much else to say. You can read my coffee the day before and reflect on them before responding. That way we can all learn something. You said dating doesn't mean sex. The devil's advocate looks for anything to disprove the rule. We have to, I know. We have to speak in generalities to have a conversation. Yeah, but what's the response, though? The devil wants a response. Because that's how I meant it. That's how I meant it. For me. It doesn't have to mean sex. You're saying dating 75% of the time means sex. So 25% of the time it's not sex. Right? 24% it's an evil. Wait, hold on. He says 24% is an evil female extracting resources, and 1% aren't human. They're unicorns that came together through Christ. Like, maybe. Eric with the coffee says, conversations get interesting when we turn the page and move forward. You said, people don't think about value. I gave you logical reasonings to why both men and women think about value. You said, sometimes feelings override that kind of thing. Maybe you think about value, but without words. Women are definitely thinking about value in words because they can. They're born with their value, so they hold all the power. Satan is their god. Women have a narcissistic, very wordy. Women have a narcissistic, very wordy, detailed description of what their men should be. Men, not as much, because the woman is their god. Men are born without value, so they take what they could get. They convince themselves they want it. In an attempt to live in peace. Men go to Best Buy, dig through refurbished open box return TVs with stickers that claim good as new, and convince themselves they're getting a better deal. I said men are too dumb to realize they're slaves. Men would rather not think about where she's been and what she's done because it would threaten their peace. A woman is a man's peace. Ergo, women are never held accountable for their behavior. Whenever women have power, societies crumble. Women are going to destroy humanity. Unless we go through this conversation, I want to stop there and make sure you're on the same page. We're headed towards the realization that it's Adam's fault that ate the apple. Then applying the understanding to every societal dysfunction, explain its cause, and look for a solution. Yeah, man, thanks for the coffees. I mean, look, like, I honor the coffees because people send in coffees and I read them, right? Like, you guys are paying money and sometimes they make you send in coffees to Jesse and they're short. They're short, sweet. So, call it my discomfort. And how do I handle this show? You know that the answer to that is don't think about it so much. But maybe a little bit, like, there's a time and place. Like, there's a way to handle that, even if something is wordy. Like, there's something I can do. There's something I can help with. You understand what I'm saying there? So thank you for the coffees. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, we got Technological Republic. I want to tell you guys about this. I want to tell you about this. (888-775-3773). because I saw this post by Palantir on X. And it was kind of interesting. I mean, Palantir. You might be somewhat familiar with Palantir. You might be somewhat familiar. I got to pull up my stuff on it. Because it's fascinating. Okay, so we got... Well, where do we start? Where do we start? You got what some call the techno-realists. Let's call them. No, not let's call them. Like others are calling them this. There it is. There it is. The techno-realists. Oh, don't worry about that. So, yeah, what do you call it? They call them the techno-realists. I mean, they're referring to what they were once called, maybe still called by some, the PayPal Mafia. They call themselves national conservatives sometimes. National conservatives. Not Nacos? Not Nachos? Nacos? What do you call them? Nazi, Naco, not so. National conservative. Don't worry about that. Some of these names, they are, well, the CEOs of Palantir. More on that later. Alex Carr, Peter Thiel, but others involved in this tech faction. Elon Musk, and even more. David Sachs, even more, that have made a lot of money and have, been able to, garner a lot of influence and have built things. Smart individuals, pioneering individuals, the types of guys that you could probably say a lot about. But they are essentially, I mean, look, they want to shape the world, and they not only want to shape the world, they're betting that they can. They're betting that they can in a big way, the point where their money where their mouth is, etc. Is that how you say that? Put your money where your mouth is, or do only feet go into mouths, like foot and mouth? Money goes into mouths too, right? In English? Sorry. Yes, techno-realists. And they're interesting people with interesting ideas. And they've talked about it extensively in interviews, they've written books. They have commentary about our culture in America, especially in the recent decades. They have major criticisms of that which can be named and categorized under woke. And they blame the tech world, Silicon Valley, in a big way for being, part of it, exacerbating issues there. Palantir. So, where was I? So, this tech world. Well, one, Palantir is this company that is basically like a data analytics company. They use AI and other means to analyze massive amounts of data to determine trends and determine various things. And that's just like one thing. They're really doing a lot of things. But it is concerned with tech and AI. And they've enjoyed an ascendancy, so to speak, with Trump. You see, besides Trump like publicly praising Palantir and Truth Social and the close relationship and how close, whatever, but the relationship between Trump and the administration with Elon Musk, J.D. Vance is the vice president who was heavily mentored by Peter Thiel and heavily backed, financially and otherwise. Now you see this close relationship with the administration and Palantir and allies enjoying a boom in their businesses, contracts with the government that go back to the first term and even before that. Peter Thiel, co-founder of Palantir, early Trump supporter in 2016. I don't know how early. I mean, these guys have like a varied history of ideology and voting. Alex Karp grew up in what's described by Wikipedia as a liberal household, but whatever. Thiel spoke at the 2016 RNC, mentored J.D. Vance, gave him his first big job, funded his Senate run, introduced him to Trump. Thiel has made this vision, spoken this vision to Trump about how tech should essentially serve the national interest as opposed to consumer culture or woke causes, okay? So anyways, that's a little bit on their ascendancy. They've gained a lot of influence over the years, and they've built things with government contracts and all sorts of things, okay? And besides garnering this close relationship with Trump, the administration, officials, etc. They definitely became more visible in the second term. And like I said earlier, there's a lot that could probably be said about these guys, but they're people with a vision and a desire to shape the world, and they're betting that they can do it. So where were we here? Yeah, they're betting they could do it, shaping the world. So Palantir made this post on X it's garnering attention. People are like, they're like, what is this tech world, weird tech world that wants to oppress us? They are skittish. The public is skittish. I'm describing them like, I don't know, neo-Luddites in scraps of modern clothing, looking at technology like not understanding it and wanting to smash it. What do? Smash now. But don't worry about that. In brief, Palantir posts, because we get asked a lot, the technological republic in brief. And the following are like 22, call it points or tenets or of Palantir, and kind of like their philosophical underpinnings. It's derived from Alex Karp's book in 2025. He put out this book called The Technological Republic, summarizing a lot of their thinking here, of Palantir, Karp's thinking, Thiel and Iolize, and really Karp's thinking mostly, but it's his book. It's his book called The Technological Republic. And so anyways, I find some of these points interesting because of, well, I think it offers an interesting critique of a lot of just some basic things that you maybe never think about. And Palantir's got this reputation of being this big, bad, evil company that just wants to, destroy. It's also the Jew thing involved. So I think Alex Karp is Jewish, and maybe Thiel is as well. The idea is that, well, they represent like this Jewish subsect that upon a threat to Israel, a real threat to Israel, they really drop a lot of their liberal sensibilities and become far more conservative. Some are very suspicious of that. But I find this post, I think, an interesting thing to talk about that touches on all that, on all those theories, and it touches on a number of things here, I think. So I want to read some of these as I find it interesting. And like, what does this big, bad, evil company want? Let me see what everybody's telling me one thing, right? Let's see what they say. Silicon Valley owes a moral debt to the country that made its rise possible. The engineering elite of Silicon Valley has an affirmative obligation to participate in the defense of this nation. They go on to say, we must rebel against the tyranny of the apps. Is the iPhone our greatest creative, if not crowning achievement as a civilization? The object has changed our lives, but it may also now be limiting and constraining our sense of the possible. So some of this thinking is related to, and I didn't read this book because I try to read books, but I don't. And so I just don't read books, right? I read the back of the cereal box and stuff, but I am able to see his interviews, though. And this tyranny of the apps idea, this concept, has to do with essentially, Karp blames Silicon Valley for narrowly focusing on society's worst ambitions to the addictive, the trivial, the hedonistic. So imagine endless scrolling, social media dopamine hits. He even criticizes the gig economy apps, which is just like more service apps, Uber, and all the Airbnb, right, or other things, gig economy apps. They criticize all this engineering talent being misused for doom scrolling, and that's his criticism, right? And then not only that, this stuff pushes woke, pushes all this mess. And so this is what he calls, this is what they describe as a tyranny that should be changed to national defense and the real changing realities of what they describe as like this multipolar world, this world that is now in great power conflicts, and more on that later. Free email is not enough. The decadence of a culture or civilization, and indeed its ruling class, will be forgiven only if that culture is capable of delivering economic growth and security for the public. I mean, it sounds nice, right? I mean, file it under the first two. It's not enough. Silicon Valley, you got to make things that actually help people. I don't know. These guys have lofty attitude. I don't know if some of these things are even real. Like they say, no more working. AI and robotics is going to create such a boom in resources and everything in production that you just won't need to work. Will be supported by that. I don't even know. I don't know how to think about these things. I mean, I think it's still debated today. Maybe someone's right, I guess. Is the planet, is this world a zero-sum game? Is it a fixed pie? And the success of some is dependent on the failure of others. I don't know. I don't think so, right? In some cases, for Karp and the tech guys, such a concept is true at the highest level. It matters who wins the AI race because they will shape the world. They will have the edge in defense, in war, and everything. And history has shown that they get to shape the world. They get to influence and shape the world. Karp and the technological republic guys are saying, we should have that, and we have an idea on how it should be run, or at least how it should be influenced. So anyways, I don't know. They have the interesting idea. I don't know. The limits of soft power. Now, the next few points are about this changing, that America is not just this dominating force anymore. The limits of soft power, of soaring rhetoric alone, have been exposed. The ability of free and democratic societies to prevail requires something more than moral appeal. It requires hard power. So like actual software and systems that give you real hard data that actually gives you an edge on enemies, weapons. They're talking about weapons. They're talking about war. Question is not whether AI weapons will be built; it's who will build them. So you'll see this throughout this, and one question that you got to wonder is like, well, who's the enemy here? What are they talking about? They say, well, soft power, rhetoric alone. No, we need actual guns and actual AI weapons. Rhetoric alone, democracy, nations are free. The right thing is just that nations are sovereign. Yeah, that's just that they're saying that's not going to fly. you're going to need actual missiles, actual AI weapons to enforce such a whatever it is that you had. People are really upset about this one. National service should be a universal duty. We should, as a society, seriously consider moving away from an all-volunteer force and only fight the next war if everyone shares in the risk and the cost. Right? People are pretty upset. They're saying, see, this is the setup for World War III. This is how you get them to join World War III. I'm not going to be fooled. I don't know. Are you listening? The second part was interesting. Only fight the next war if everyone shares in the risk and the cost. It sounds more like what you want. I really don't know. I don't really have an opinion. But isn't that some of what you guys want? So the next few, I mean, there's a lot of points about having actual hard power and military power and how that's changing. And there's a new world. Having the nuclear deterrence doesn't dominate that war world anymore. Some pretty interesting points about us. Kind of sounds more like advice, but call it a national issue. Maybe I think society might be better if we didn't. If we follow, like if some of the next few what seems like advice, if we kind of consider them like public servants need not be our priests. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like, I guess the thinking here is that they shouldn't be our moral. It's like any little thing. They got to be this moral priest of our lives when they're supposed to just be doing their job as a public servant, whatever it is, senator to president. We should show more grace to those subjected to public life. Those who look to the political arena to nourish their soul and sense of self rely too heavily on finding expression that way will be left disappointed. I mean, that's kind of interesting. Our society has grown too eager to hasten and be gleeful at the demise of its enemies. The vanquishing of an opponent is a moment to pause, not rejoice. Whatever. The atomic age is ending. Okay, the new age of deterrence built on AI is coming. No other country in the history of the world has advanced progressive values more than this one. The United States is far from perfect, but it's easy to forget how much more opportunity exists in this country for those who are not hereditary elites than any other nation on the planet. You know, it's an interesting one, right? Because one of the big criticisms of this CARP and the technological republic or whatever is that, well, these guys are not normal. They're really just maybe in the most cheap characterization, they're just like light Democrats or light liberals. They don't really want to restrict immigration and support white people or whatever. Yeah, it's a funny point because these progressive values, I mean, I don't know if many would agree that was such a good thing. But I think, I mean, this is just a sign. These are just people who call it resigned or just decided that America and the West are multicultural nations. That's what they've decided. And I don't know, you could disagree. I definitely have my problems and issues with it. But there is a realistic approach to it. Like, is it too late? Like, globalism's coming. Either the Chinese, the Muslims, or the West with their problems get to run it. And I'm hoping that when the globalism gets enacted, this is just all my opinion, whoever wins the great power war struggle and gets to enact the globalism on the world, that we'll have a segregated globalism. Within the globalism, there'll be the states. And some people will I know some people really have a problem with it. And I can understand some of them, of this mixing. It's like, you know what, we want our own areas. But it seems like the great powers are stuck on, well, someone's got to own everything first. So you shut up, because we got to be diverse right now. Remember the tech guys were really fighting with the MAGA people on X right before the election over H-1B. telling them, hey, you guys got to accept the H-1B. Stop. Don't be mad at Trump. Don't say you're not going to vote for him over H-1B. Elon infamously got into a spat over that, saying, I will something like F you in the face or something if you don't agree with bringing in immigrants because we need talent, et cetera, or whatever. So, hey, I mean, that's y'all, right? Isn't that y'all, tech guys? The post-war neutering of Germany and Japan must be undone. And with that, you realize, well, CARP. I mean, these guys are aligning themselves with the West. They see the West as one thing, and Germany and Japan is part of it. And the way they were treated after the World Wars, they're saying it's got to end. It's a big what's it called? Weakness in the defense, in the balance of the world. And that just sounds like a very realistic thing to say. It seems like the world is, at least since the European monarchies or whatever, and the Roman Empire, it's been just like a world of balancing. It's a balancing act. Even when Britain dominated the world in the seas, the high seas were Britain, so to speak, they still had to team up. What was it? They had to team up with who? It was their policy. It was their policy to always team up with like the third best to keep the second best in check. It's always been a balance of powers. That's what your peace is. That's what your peace is. It's a balancing of powers. Germany has historically always been like a check on Russia. Germany right now is just like in the dumps. It's like Holocaust memorials. And it's like, you guys suck. Remember Hitler? I guess today is, they say, his birthday, if he were still around, right? But they say, you're still guilty of that today. And they have no military. Japan is similar. I mean, it sounds like, are you finding some of this interesting? It's not as one-dimensional as you think. Big bad Palantir. I mean, they're pretty pragmatic. They seem to be thinking about things that you're not, realistic things. And I think they're more of an ally than you think. It's just a little bit more sophisticated than you think, in my opinion. And I think they want America to just, make it work. A couple more points about public life and the exposing of their private lives and how that's just been a terrible thing. Keeps real talent away from government service. I thought all that was interesting. The pervasive intolerance of religious belief in certain circles must be resisted. The elite's intolerance of religious belief is perhaps one of the most telling signs that its political project constitutes a less open intellectual movement than many within it would claim. I mean, who are you talking about there? Christianity? But then I guess that could mean, should that flip, it could be about any other religion. Some cultures have produced vital advances. Others remain dysfunctional and regressive. I mean, these people have a big criticism on the whole all cultures are now equal thing. They're saying it's just not true. It glosses over the fact that certain cultures and subcultures have produced wonders, others regressive and harmful. So anyways, that's the tech world. I mean, these are just some of the real, in my opinion, real influences in the country. Pretty interesting. And I think I find it interesting to know a little bit more as opposed to having this blanket like tech people bad, right? Like just having this. Aren't you just glad that now you know a little bit more? Whatever it is that you may have concluded. I found it interesting. So that's the technological republic. Oh, you know what? There was actually other things too, like violent crime. I mean, that was an interesting point. I was telling you guys, America's going to welcome and clamor with open arms the police, the so-called police state or whatever, surveillance state, after enough of their stuff gets locked up in the CVSs and. But that's what they say. Silicon Valley must play a role in addressing violent crime. And they blame the politicians in the U.S. shrugging. They've essentially shrugged when it comes to violent crime, abandoning any serious efforts to address the problem. You know what? That's such an interesting thing. That's such an interesting thing. And I want to tell you about that in a moment, about how some, especially the older generation, what really their view is of the world, of America. And when you see it kind of described a certain way, put into certain words, it's almost like a little, not shocker, but just like, wow, yeah, I've never heard it put that way. But when you put it that way, these people got problems. More on that in a moment. But yeah, these are just some of what I think some of the real tugs of war going on and influence in the country. Yeah. So these guys are interesting. I think they do express some of like the only defenses out there for what you call America, what you call America first. There's not many out there. And they're interesting, okay? I don't think it's all conspiratorial or everything you guys say. I know these guys like the H-1Bs, for example. I mean, they like bringing in all these, they need labor, right? And that represents an interesting tug of war with the people already here. But, you know, Trump has come in. He's made a lot of changes to H-1B, slapped that 100,000 price tag on it. But that does represent to some of the most hardcore, still not good enough. That's basically just a Democrat to me. You know, because that represents a multi-ethnic America. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think you can't say that they're being totally rational. There's something unrealistic about it, even if I agree with a lot of the arguments. Okay, culture, what else? What else? But yeah, that's the technological republic. You know, violent crime, it made me think of what the average, what the like average, like older liberal, boomer liberal, Gen X liberal thinks of America. You know, it's interesting. I saw someone put it a certain way. I'll show you that in a moment. It's connected to this story here because there's this guy named James Carville. And okay, so I don't know much about him. Like, he's like this old Democrat, right? I forget what they call him, an advisor, strategist. The guy's been this voice at Politicons and other things for years. I don't know if he's been in an administration or not, but his opinion seems to matter to a lot of people. And I don't know how deeply, but the guy, they call him a strategist. The guy's been around. He's been seeing Democrat politics and just politics play out for decades, many presidents. I actually met the guy at a Politicon. I was with Jesse, and it may have been, I forget which election, but it may have been like some incoming or something. But I mean, I think we just said hi. And Jesse was like, "Let's go Trump," right? And James Carville was like, whatever, right? Like, LOL, obviously I'm not with Trump. And that was it. But anyways, James Carville, he was saying something that got people's attention. Top Democrat political consultant, campaign strategist, James Carville stated on the left-wing Polycon podcast that when Democrats regain power, they plan to grant statehood to Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. They plan to, so that Democrats can unlock 4 extra seats in the Senate. They plan to pack the U.S. Supreme Court from 9 justices up to 13. Reopen the U.S. border, U.S.-Mexico border. Grant amnesty. They want to do a bunch of things. And Carville's being very brazen about it, right? And he says, is what got people going, don't run on it. Don't talk about it. Just do it. I know Elon Musk was commenting on this and saying, mean, this guy's just basically brazenly saying that they hate democracy. They want to get rid of democracy. You know, representation. Hello, have you heard of it? You're just going to pack the Supreme Court, huh? We don't like how the Supreme Court has these justices. Let's put 3, 4 more so that they always rule on our side. Let's just pack even more Senate seats too. Brazen, they're saying. I think I even have Carville saying it. I mean, might as well, right? This is an ad, though. My bad. Does she know she's an ad? Oh, man. Come on, Amazon. I guess they got to get their ads, though, right? It's a business. Carville, tell us. Are you even speaking? You're muted, sir. You're muted, sir. My apologies. Hold on.
Supreme Court seats. They've gerrymandered everything that you can, and the only way to fight this is don't run on it, don't talk about it, just do it. The Democrats win the presidency in both houses of Congress. I think on day one, they should make Puerto Rico, D.C. a state, and they should expand the Supreme Court to 13. Eat our dust. They've done everything they could. That they held up the 2000 election. They stole it. They've stolen Supreme Court seats. They've gerrymandered everything that you can, and the only way to fight this is don't run on it, don't talk about it, just do it.
So that's got people going. They're saying, what happened to the democracy, bro? And he's saying, well, a lot of people would even agree with him. Well, I mean, this is actually just political strategy. This is just winning a zero-sum game. Either we win or you or we lose. And it's a little bit of whataboutism, like you guys did this, gerrymandered, etc. And you know what gerrymandering he's talking about? I'm not familiar, but if he's talking about some of the like recent stuff, honestly, this is very soft. Like if we are going to split the hairs and be like, and do that, like I gotta say, Democrats, this is pretty soft. Trump didn't pack any Supreme Court. They were appointed because they were vacant seats, the same 9 seats from like the 1800s. The redistricting is, hello, Democrats, you remember the millions and millions of undocumented people? Like, you don't think that changes censuses? We got to always just play by your rules and your framing? If you really want to characterize it, in my opinion, it's like the Republicans, like softly, Democrats just like packing states full of illegals, getting all sorts of stuff. 2020, hey, big question mark, right? I feel funny about it. We never got to investigate it. We don't know. I'm not saying anything happened. I'm not saying. Kash Patel is saying interesting things about it. Maybe we'll have time to get to it. They're saying they're going to arrest people over the 2020 stuff, but hey. But Republicans come out and do what you could say is responses to that, but kind of soft. And then they go, what the heck is wrong with these guys? Nope, let's pack the Supreme Court. In one sense, it's ruthless, strategic. Sure, maybe that's what you want your side to do, but where was I here? What's interesting to me about this one is it's almost like a cynical telling of what people really do agree with, because people essentially agree with Carville. They just wouldn't put it like that. It's a very kind of cynical telling, because he said open the borders and give him amnesty. That's crazy. What he's saying is like, well, we need to win elections, so let in a bunch of people that are not American. Like, it's just like, that's so brazen. You're saying you don't care. We just want to hold on to power, even if it means bringing in all these people. And he said it so matter-of-factly and brazenly. That's for political power. But here's the thing. He said what a lot of people agree with in a crude way. And it's not that we want these people in to garner political power, but it's just that we believe in America as a nation of immigrants. But Carville's characterization of these things is a funny kind of mask-off, cynical thing. of like electoral self-interest and partisan logic. I find that funny. But whatever. I mean, it does kind of it does make me think about this post here. You know what? I'll read it to you because I'm thinking, you know what? Some of this seems to hit like an actual description of what you might call like just some mainstream liberals and what they believe. This person says, you know, most people don't even really understand what ordinary mainstream liberals, like your old people on your Facebook, boomers, Gen X, parents, others, they genuinely believe that suburbanites have completely invented the idea that there is a crime problem just because they're mean, scared racists. And meanwhile, it's really just rich suburbanites and rural hicks that cause all the problems. Like, they really believe this stuff. It's not an exaggeration or a metaphor. That's what they think is happening. They think that failing urban schools are because racist suburbanites don't give those schools enough money. That's their literal understanding of the world. They think that crime and disorder are overrated. But to the extent that these are real problems, it's because how we built the interstate highways 70 years ago. Yeah, they say that the highway divided poor people and they kept them in the poor areas and kept them poor. It's just always been racism. Racism? Yeah, it's what it always was. That's their literal belief. They think that gun crime today is because it was hard to get mortgages in some neighborhood in the 1960s. Again, this is their literal understanding of cause and effect. You can get mad at he named some liberals, or whoever else online, but understand this is the average normie liberal. The average normie liberal lives on another planet altogether. They share this video. I think it's an old ad, but I swear don't we see ads like this all the time? Where they have like a funhouse mirror view of the world. It's like, I think a scene like this happens, but it doesn't usually look like this.
What do you want to get? Ice cream. Chocolate? Yeah. Let's go, honey.
White woman with her daughter. Okay, black guy.
Together, we can find a child by signing up.
What do you want
Wait, what? Wait, sorry, actually, I missed it. Hold on, I saw like a longer thing on this before. This ad accidentally captured the essence of how I see the conservative Republican culture. Just act all terrified of everything around you so they won't notice you're the predator. Hold on, does the video connect to that? White lady just walking around the neighborhood.
What do you want to get? Ice cream.
And they're getting followed by men. What? Black dude. Black working class, blue collar looking guy. What? Guy in a van, black guy in a white shirt. Turns out they were just here to help. It was a cop.
Together we can.
And it was something positive. And it was an Amber Alert. 8-year-old suspect woman. Wait, chat, I'm missing it. I'm being autistic right now. They're saying that she's the kidnapper. Right? Meanwhile, we're supposed to assume that all these people are like the evil people. Instead, why don't we ever assume it was her, that she's the kidnapper, right? That's what they're trying to say. Look, whatever. That post earlier was hitting, in my opinion, though. And I bet you the clip is totally connected and way clearer to some of you guys who don't have like mental issues right now. Yeah, some people are really stuck in that. Like they just like the civil rights movement, like that's life. Like that's America. Racism really is real to them. It's crazy. It's crazy. Mainstream liberals. Like that really is not reality. This is another discussion on the gender divide in politics, which I found interesting. Let me pull up some of the stuff on it, though. They were discussing the gender divide. Kind of connected here with the Democrats, because they're saying once they come back, they're going to pack the courts, they're going to do all this stuff, open up the borders. Holy, I know we want to be maybe hard on technological republic, but maybe not many allies out there. Look at what they feel like doing once they get returned to power. And the ladies are going to help them. The women are going to help them. This person claims the voting gap is driven primarily by single women who see their interest as inherently at odds with families and single men. And I remember this Washington Examiner gender divide by marital status. I remember seeing this. You see, married men, married women, and unmarried men all vote Republican majority. But you get to unmarried women and it gets crazy. Almost 70%. Almost 70% are voting Democrat. Single, maybe broken up with, scored maybe. Nick, they're not so unsophisticated and people aren't so one-dimensional. I don't know. I literally know two anecdotal examples. Asian, little Chinese girls, immigrant parents, whitewashed in Canada, white ex-boyfriend, and a adopting of a strong anti-white liberal woke ideology. Like I've seen that happen personally. Just personally, right? But yeah, there's some discussion about this person's post, and they were referencing a number of. I was trying to look for it because it's kind of barely meant. It's not really mentioned what this person was referencing. They kind of just assume that it's like knowledge or whatever, but yeah, it's a discussion on the gender divide. And this person says the idea that the reason modern women don't like men, 65% have a negative view among younger women on men, is that men don't like women. When we can clearly see that's not true in the same data. The men have a 7% negative view of the young women. It's one of the more absurd examples of straight up refusal to take responsibility that I've ever seen. Another proposed reason is declining male feminism. So that they're not so feminist anymore. And so the women are like, F you guys. This person is saying, no, the obvious issue is woke. Since the 60s, you've had literally teaching. You're teaching the children that the founding principles are evil. Patriarchy, etc., right? And that guy's onto something a little bit. That's going to divide people. And it's related to this. He's referencing some interesting recent trends and specific polling data showing this divide across the world, but in America, some of it was coming from Korea. But this definite gender split politically and beyond on attitudes on each other and politics among Gen Z and younger millennials. And it's definitely this like, psh. Now Ipsos, for example, there was this Ipsos thing on it. And that's where they're getting this 65% among younger women, that's Gen Z and all that, having this negative view. They also have, for example, they show how they ask them a number of these polling questions, and they do the whole they do the whole like disagree, somewhat agree, strongly agree thing. And it's from this that this guy gets this point that Gen Z women are more likely to think that they will never succeed because of sexism than baby boomers were. And I totally get where he's coming from. Let's be honest here. You want to say, well, the women don't like men because men don't like women. Well, no. They're being taught to not like the men. They're being told that they will never succeed because of sexism, and they're more likely to think that than baby boomers. What is this? Obviously, they were taught that by the baby boomers, who didn't let that go like we were talking about earlier. But the ladies, I mean, they're into this stuff, and they're wrong for thinking these things. Connect that to the single women, and maybe you start putting together this picture of these very basic motivations, evil motivations with these young women. Now, people were bringing up other things too. They were responding to this, saying, well, it's a non-white women thing who drive the voting gap. Majority of white women actually vote GOP. So, you know, it's a little bit of this and that. Take everything with a grain of salt. This person responds to that even. You would need a different poll to show which was a stronger driver. But I imagine these are overlapping categories. For example, the pool of single women is disproportionately non-white, considering marriage rates among Black Americans in particular. So, overlapping stuff, whatever. I find it all kind of interesting. Feminism is a plague, says someone in the chat. And you can honestly, like, peel it back further. Like, you have a judgment on the men. And that's been quite poisonous to the country. Repent, right? You're angry. Resentment. And you made up a bunch of stuff from it. It's what anybody with resentment does, no? You just made up a whole bunch of stuff about it, about each other. What a mess. The gender divide, whatever. We got Rick out of Hampton, Virginia. I want to get to you right here in the last few minutes of the show. We've been together some time already. Look at that. Rick, Hampton, Virginia. We got a few minutes here before we go. Appreciate your call, though. You're on the air.
What's going on, Brother Nick? I hope you guys had a great weekend.
Thank you, sir. Big time.
Hey, well, should y'all have a good weekend?
For sure.
Cool. Well, shoot. What do you think about the Strait of Hormuz, man? It's like Iran trying to say they gonna open the Strait of Hormuz when they ready. What do you think about that?
It's war. So it was kind of set up. It wasn't. This ceasefire was, I mean, everybody says it was very difficult and surprised that Trump could even do it. But I don't know if anybody following the details of the war thought that, well, it's over. So Trump wants to make these deals, but, you know, it's just not over. So I heard Iran made sure of that. Now, I think they're saying something was violated, and so they're saying that's why we're making things spicy through the strait again. But that's essentially why. I mean, it's still war.
Oh, okay. So right now, I forgot that the Strait of Hormuz was open now.
Well, Iran was saying that. That's what was so interesting about the weekend.
Yeah.
And very nice for the stock markets and all that, and oil prices. That was the big news. And I mean, everybody seems to say that they agree it was seemingly difficult and very hard to believe that it was going to happen. But that's what they announced. And Iran agreed. They're like, yeah, the strait is open.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But remember, that's what everybody was saying, though. Trump, Iran, everybody was saying, yeah, it's open for these peace talks. And that implies a story that's not yet finished, right? So.
So, wow, okay. Well, I think it's going to turn out in favor of Trump, man. I really do. What do you think?
I think so. I just don't know all the details. I don't know everything, so I need to wait and see how it turns out. But it's interesting because you got all sorts of interesting people saying stuff like, you know, the United States has signed agreements with Morocco concerning the Strait of Gibraltar, and what happened in Venezuela. I mean, many are describing this grabbing of these major choke points in the world: Panama, Malacca, Gibraltar, Hormuz, of course, contentious. I mean, if that's true, then that's amazing. I mean, that's like America's poisoning it. Trump has poisoned America in this huge long-term win. I just don't know what it's all going to end up as. So I hope so too, and I think so too.
Well, I tell you what, man, we got a big election tomorrow as well, too, man. So I'm hoping the no's win tomorrow. It's about the gerrymandering and here in Virginia. But
I saw Obama trying to get everybody hyped up to go out and vote for that.
Yeah, man. I mean, right now it's 6 Democrat seats and 5 Republicans. So if the yeses win, it'll be 10 Democrat seats and 1 Republican.
Yep.
But it always kills me that they always say Trump this, Trump that. But yet they never mention that they started it. They started it back in 2020 with Illinois and New York. That's when they were doing gerrymandering. So President Trump come and say, hey, why don't you guys do it as well? And then a lot of states follow suit.
And the rationale makes so much sense, too, because they let in all these illegals.
Yeah.
So we need to see what's really going on.
That's right. They started it. They started in the 2020 election. They did Illinois and New York. So now Trump said, oh, okay, why don't you guys do the same thing like they did? Now they act like the Democrats won't no one bring it up to them. And I always bring it up to them. I say, yeah, they started it. They started gerrymandering back in 2020 with Illinois and New York. Yep.
Interesting, Rick. So does that mean you vote tomorrow?
Yeah, I already voted, man. I voted no.
No.
No gerrymandering. Anything the Democrats support. When the Democrats say vote yes, you vote no. The Democrats say vote yes, you vote no. Totally opposite of the Democrats.
Rick, man, I appreciate it.
Up to something no good.
For sure. Well, we'll wish Virginia well. We'll watch for the news on that tomorrow or beyond.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling me here in the last few minutes,
yes,
Rick.
Sir.
Last thing you want to say, go ahead.
Hey, man, in Virginia, y'all get out and vote, man. Vote no on this because y'all already see that they're raising taxes on ammunition and everything. So if y'all vote yes, and when they bring all these taxes and these other godless policies, don't complain. As Chick-fil-A says, my pleasure.
Rick, call me again.
Yes, sir. I love y'all. Be blessed. Thanks for taking my call, Nick.
Back at you. Appreciate it. John, man, I couldn't get to you. We're here, done with the show. California, who wants to talk about the psychedelic drugs? Call me tomorrow or another day. We got to go. We done did the show. We done did all the topics, the calls, and all that. I appreciate it. Buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. Jermaine with the coffee says, sup, Nick. Can you cover the clip of Trump saying he doesn't know what a corner store is? Not sure if he was joking or not, but the left news hops on it quick. Don Lemon as well. He took it to the street asking people, so what if Trump doesn't know what a corner store is? People are so easy to control by word because of their hatred. I might have to cover that, Jermaine. I saw that too. I found it funny. Like maybe he calls it a bodega, like because he's from New York, or he's just been insulated from having to enter such an establishment. Either way, hilarious comment. We'll get to that, Jermaine. All right, folks. Call me tomorrow. Thanks for all that. Let's see what else. More American Anchor, baby, tomorrow after Country Western Tuesday, the Hake Report and all that. And, of course, more American Anchor, baby. We couldn't get to Lebanon. I wanted to get to the Lebanon stuff. We'll get to it tomorrow. Amazing. And that's everything. Rumble and YouTube. Carver, thank you. Incredible. See y'all tomorrow. More American Anchor, baby. Take it easy for now. Peace. Bye.
The views, information, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this show are the individual's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the JLP Network or Bond. Their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The JLP Network and Bond name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.